Welcome, everybody. I'd like to go ahead and bring the regular DeKalb City Council meeting of April 14th to order. Roll call, please.
Zasada.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Powell.
Here.
Verbic.
Here.
Walker. Mayor Barnes.
Here.
8 present.
Excellent. We are now in order. Agenda item B, the Pledge of Allegiance. Captain Hy-Vee, would you lead us in the pledge, please? All right. Thank you, Shadow. Appreciate it. Then moving on to agenda item C, approval of the agenda. I would take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, sorry, the city attorney was looking at me. I thought there was an issue. So moved by Alderman or Alderwoman Larson, seconded by Alderman Perkins.
Yep.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Zasada.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Verbic.
Yes.
Walker. Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
All right, the agenda has been approved. Moving on to letter D, presentations. I've got 3 proclamations I want to read. The first one is a proclamation on National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 13th through the 19th, 2025. So whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And when an emergency occurs, the prompt dispatch of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life, preservation of property, and public safety. And the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained by public safety telecommunicators of the City of DeKalb Emergency Communications Center. And telecommunicators are the single vital communication link amongst our police officers, firefighters, and paramedics by monitoring their activities, providing them information, and ensuring their public safety or ensuring their safety. And telecommunicators of the City of DeKalb have contributed daily to the effective public safety response, the apprehension of criminals, the suppression of fires, and the treatment of patients. And each telecommunicator has exhibited compassion, care, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their duties. And this week of April 13th through the 19th, 2025, has been designated as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week by the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, APCO, and recognized nationally by proclamation of the United States Congress. Now therefore, I, Cohen Barnes, Mayor of the City of DeKalb, Illinois, do hereby declare recognition and celebration of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week from April 13th through the 19th, 2025, in the City of DeKalb. How about a round of applause for our telecommunicators? And I believe we have some of you all to receive the proclamation. Awesome. Let's come on up to the front. And Council, if you'd come up to the front, too. Thank you, sir. Always appreciate it. Where you want us to start?
Your angle shot.
You want on your side?
Sure.
I should come first. I'm sorry.
Always love starting meetings off with these. Just a good way to do it, bringing recognition to a lot of people and a lot of issues. All right, our second one is a proclamation on Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April 2025. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in this community. And sexual assault and sexual harassment harm our community, and statistics show 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be sexually assaulted at some point in their lives. And child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 4 boys and 1 in 3 girls will experience a sexual assault before the age of 18. And on campus, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted during their time in college. And whereas the theme of this year's Sexual Assault Awareness Month's campaign is Together We Act, United We Change. The campaign calls on new partners and community members to help expand sexual assault prevention efforts and ensure the next generation fosters attitudes that promote healthy relationships, equality, and respect. Therefore, I, Cohen Barnes, Mayor of the City of DeKalb, Illinois, join Safe Passage and advocates across the country in taking action to prevent sexual violence and do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of DeKalb, reminding everyone that each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. I'd love to give a round of applause for all the great work that they do at Safe Passage. And again, I think we have some members of Safe Passage here that would love to come up to the front. All right, Council? Thank you, Nancy.
Nice big smiles.
All right, we have another one. Proclamation on Disability Book Week, April 20th through the 26th, 2025. Whereas the disability experience is a natural part of life and is valued as part of our rich diversity, yet the disability community is underrepresented in literary works. Whereas disability is a social construct, the issue at hand is not the presence of medical condition residing within the individual, but that society does not create welcoming, supporting environment for all. Inclusion is essential at all levels within the community. And while the public is aware of inclusion of race, religion, political persuasion, and other identifiers, there is a limited awareness of disability inclusion in literature. And the burden of awareness has fallen to the shoulders of those impacted by disabilities, either indirectly or directly. And the most effective way to increase awareness is through everyone's openness to learn and acknowledge that there are systemic barriers that reduce the likelihood of those with disabilities enjoying equitable experiences. And equitable experiences and full inclusion is a matter of social justice. Consequently, creating equitable inclusion environments is a shared responsibility of everyone. And the advocacy effort, Disability Book Week, is dedicated to increasing awareness and inclusion of authors with disabilities and books featuring characters with disabilities, as well as supporting literacy efforts in order to support and benefit individuals with disabilities and provide the opportunity for all to identify with and see themselves represented in published literary works. And Disability Book Week provides an opportunity for schools, libraries, and the public in general to raise awareness of the underrepresented disability population. It is costly to our communities when awareness remains limited because of society misses out on the rich talents and experiences those with disabilities have to offer their communities. And citizens should do all in their power to recognize the value and intersectionality of the disability experience in our lives and valued role it has in our rich diversity and the barriers presented to those with disabilities, and create ways to include everyone, especially those with developmental disabilities, to be fully included in all aspects of our life. Therefore, I, Cohen Barnes, Mayor of the City of DeKalb, Illinois, do hereby declare recognition and celebration of Disability Book Week from April 20th through the 26th, 2025 in the City of DeKalb. How about another round of applause, please? And I believe I have someone, yes, there she is, all right, Council? All right, now we can move on to agenda item E, public participation, and we have one, Mr. Christopher Hudson. And Christopher, I don't know if you were told, but you have 3 minutes, and I have to hold you to that, sir. Happy to have a conversation, further conversation after this if you want to
Sounds
as
good.
well.
Well, thank you, Mayor Barnes, aldermen and women, and city staff. Mr. Nicholas, thank you for your work. I appreciate all you do for our town. I prepared a letter for each of you, which you should have a copy of. Dear City Council, part of our subdivision was recently redrawn into Ward 6. Please see the attached map. Homes circled in red have been carved out and placed in the new ward. We respectfully request reconsideration of this change as our subdivision has a unique identity that sets it apart from surrounding areas. We are a physically self-contained community planned and built at the same time, which has fostered a strong internal cohesion. Over the years, we have developed a strong sense of community through a shared subdivision Facebook page, consistent communication, and a culture of mutual support among neighbors. The neighbors I've spoken to agree that our subdivision would be best served by representation from a single council member who understands our community as a whole. Conversely, it probably doesn't serve the entire city of DeKalb to have our unique neighborhoods represented by two different alderpeople, which might artificially amplify the voice of a single street or block. The attached 1997 letter from Illinois Attorney General Jim Ryan gives guidance to cities who wish to redraw their maps and provides a supporting opinion that this can be made at the will of the city. That's highlighted for you on page 3. The letter indicates that the city can make changes as long as it does not violate the one man, one vote principle. The opinion clearly states, a city may redistrict even when no change in the number of wards will result. So our request is this: I respectfully ask that the homes circled in red, which are part of our original subdivision, be returned to Ward 5. I understand the importance of maintaining balanced ward populations. As such, I've circled a few nearby areas in blue that may be appropriate to include in Ward 6 instead, keeping populations within each ward even. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. City Manager,
Maybe,
you want to make comments?
since Mr. Hudson came out tonight, appreciate your comments too. Maybe the city attorney could explain a few things as well.
Absolutely.
So I agree that we could withdraw the map if we wanted to do so within the middle of the decade. You know, every 10 years there's a census that comes out, and when that census comes out, we have to redistrict based on the one man, one vote principle that was expressed by the speaker in a Supreme Court case called Baker versus Carr. The problem if you do that midterm is that we don't actually have an accurate census count. So the best thing that you would have to do to make sure that if we were to redraw it within those 10 years would be to go out and get a special census, which costs a lot of money, unfortunately, and the value of doing a special census is really only if you know that it's going to increase the overall city's population, because then you can get some federal revenues that are tied to population numbers. So if we don't know that, it's not worth undertaking the effort of a special census usually, or if we don't know it, but we can, if we can't reasonably estimate, it's not worth undertaking that. So this is something that I would respectfully suggest that you consider in 2030 when we actually have a census, unless for some other reason we're undertaking the special census, because if you redistrict based on guesswork of what the population has changed, then you've encountered a greater potential violation of the Illinois and the United States laws that govern voting and the one man, one vote principle. One person, one vote, I should say.
So if I heard you correctly, to redraw, it requires a special census to be created.
That would be my legal recommendation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, City Manager.
Spencer, just so people know, a special census is a head count across the community.
It's another census, basically.
The data collection is not as deep. Obviously, you're going to count persons and a few households and the like, but doesn't go as deep into income strata and so forth, demographically speaking. So it's cheaper than a regular census, but it's, you know, the last census cost a couple $100,000 of our money. So this is, it won't be that much, but it won't be $1,000 either. We have to go into this with our eyes open.
And I think because the last census, we went down 4,000 in population, yet the quandary everyone has is our school districts are bursting at the seams. So did we go down in 4,000? So the question is, could we have a lot more people? And what would be the potential revenue of doing a special census, not just for this issue, but to be able to capture those other dollars? Is there a return on investment in the 5 years that we have left? I don't think we can have that answer necessarily, but it is something we contemplate. Okay.
Definitely.
Anything else? All right, so conversation may not be over, but we might be stuck with it for the next 5 years. But highly encourage you, remember this conversation, so when the next census happens and these maps are being redrawn, that we're all taking a closer look. Because I think it was people with great intentions, doing their jobs, map got created, and we have the issue of your neighborhood. Yes, sir.
Might want to point out something too. Typically, our alderpersons are involved with neighborhoods and so forth to talk about this in the lead up to a census taking. And the issue, if we can all recall, is the COVID pandemic, which interrupted a lot of interaction, and I have to say probably had an impact on our final census. So,
Yeah.
I trust we won't have that again, and it's a good opportunity for alderpersons to engage with different neighborhoods, as you were describing, where there's some cohesion and an interest in maintaining some sub-identity there. So.
All right, moving on to agenda item F, and I would be remiss, because we had a lot of proclamations and a lot of other things. If we covered the topic that you're here for, by all means, you can go ahead and leave. It's no disrespect to council, and that includes any other agenda item that's coming up as well. I don't expect you to stay in here or feel obligated to hear everything that we discuss, although we love having you all.
Mayor,
Moving on to agenda item F.
Yeah, you have
Yes.
one more public speaker.
Mary Hess.
Oh.
and then
That's right, I was handed that when I was reading the proclamation. Thank you. All right, we have Mary Hess. Sorry, Mayor. And as a reminder, you have 3 minutes.
We do.
So with me, I have Casey Pachochin. We're here representing DeKalb Township in an event we're holding that we'd like to invite you all to.
Good evening. I'm Casey Pachochin. I am the Director of General Assistance for DeKalb Township. I am also part of a program in DeKalb called Networking for Families. It's a program in the area that has been around for over 36 years. It's local nonprofits that get together and we kind of brainstorm and talk about what our organizations do and how we can help others in the community. Last week, I hand-delivered a letter that each of you should have received inviting you to a poverty simulation that Networking for Families is holding along with University Illinois Extension. We are inviting each of you to come to this event. It's a 2-hour simulation where you will actually act as a participant and you will play the role or be given the role of a person living in poverty. And you will go through that simulation working with various people playing different roles as nonprofit sector, police, DCFS, different organizations that our families in poverty encounter on a day-to-day basis. And it gives you a snapshot of living the life of a person in poverty for 1 month and having to make the choices that those individuals make. Do I buy shoes for my kids? Do I pay my electric bill? Do I buy food or do I pay for prescriptions? So we're hoping with our community leaders being a part of this and getting involved, you'll be part of the conversation after the simulation. We're going to have a debriefing where we'll talk as a community about what we can do to help the people living in poverty in our community, how we can break down some of the barriers that they have. And it's really important that you as our community leaders take a part of that and be part of that, hear the voice of the community members. So we really encourage you to sign up. The letter does have the Evite link on there that you can register and sign up for that simulation. So we hope to see you there. It's Tuesday, April 22nd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay.
Thanks, Casey. Mary?
And we open that invitation to anyone in the room. It doesn't have to just be council, anyone from the community that wants to participate. It is a community event, and you walk away with a level of understanding that you probably didn't walk into the room with.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item F, appointments, we have none. So agenda item G, consent agenda. 1, minutes of the regular city council meeting of March 24th, 2025. 2, accounts payable and payroll through April 14th, 2025, in the amount of $3,876,021.02. 3, investment and bank balance summary through February 2025. 4, year-to-date revenues and expenditures through February 2025. 5, crime-free housing bureau report, March 2025. 6, resolution 2025-038, authorizing a workman's compensation lump sum petition and order in the amount of $25,927.75 to Christopher Ziola. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Verbeck, seconded by Alderwoman Zazada. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Zasada,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
All right, the consent agenda has been approved. Now we're going to go move to agenda item H, public hearings, and we have a public hearing for the vacation of a portion of Simmons Avenue. I'm going to go ahead and call this public hearing to order at 6:21. Is there anyone in attendance wishing to speak to this item? All right. City Manager, do you have anything to add?
Not at this time. There is
We'll
an
discuss it
ordinance later on. Yeah.
Okay. Council, we're going to have this up for discussion later, but I have to ask. Okay, hearing none. Last call. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing as of 6:22. Moving on to agenda item I, considerations, we have none. Then agenda item GA, number 1, resolution 2025-039, authorizing the approval of a proposal from Fair Graham for an environmental site assessment of the former Patano's Auto Salvage property at 1151 South 4th Street in the amount of $120,300. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderwoman Larson. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The council will recall back in December of '24, you approved a new TIF 4, which addresses some slower growth, considerably slower growth in that area from roughly Taylor Street down to the I-88 corridor and a couple blocks either side of that going east and west. And you'll also remember that in the plan that we had 4 or 5 months worth of discussion about and the pieces of it and so forth in the map, that one particular property was highlighted, and that was the former Protano Auto Salvage Yard at 1151 South 4th Street. And that was an area that had been investigated for a variety of suspected and confirmed environmental issues. The city became the owner of that parcel in 2015. Leading up to that, the environmental conditions were first evaluated in 2004 by the IEPA and then again by a consultant hired by the City Council in 2013. The phase 2, as it's typically understood, was never fully completed. And in order to identify what exactly needs to be done to clean up the remaining environmental hazards there, which include a variety of things that are highlighted in my background, and then to be in a position to judge what uses that property might offer over time, we need to do some more professional investigation. We have solicited an environmental sites assessment proposal from Fair Graham. It's before you tonight. The price of that is $120,300. It not only includes the assessment of what's on the site, but also includes an approach to the IEPA to get us enrolled in their site program that can help us with the cost of the actual mitigation of the hazards. In the audience tonight, Annie Ray, who's our senior project hydrogeologist, is here, and working with her on this was Ross Grimes, who had been before the council years and years ago in relation to this site. So we believe that their proposal is a sound one. Their experience in working with the IEPA site remediation program is well known, and we recommend to you approval of this. Now, right now, we don't have any money in the TIF-4 fund. It's accruing this year in 2025, and by the fall of the year, we'll know a little bit better what the first year's allocation will be from the county once it's collected. At this point, I'm proposing that we take this out of the general fund balance with an IOU from the future TIF-4 fund.
Council, questions, comments? Alderman Smith.
Bill, just so we're all, I guess, all on the same page, we have to do this to do anything with that property at all.
That's
We gotta
correct.
I mean, it's similar was at First and Locust, right?
That's correct.
So we wanna, that was a tank removal, if
It was.
my age
It
is
was.
not kicking in too much. So we really are, I guess, in the rock and a hard place here if we wanna have some serious development.
We have
of
to
that property.
proceed, and I think the neighbors, the neighborhood is kind of tired of seeing this
Agreed.
just
Yeah.
running wild, literally.
All right, thank you.
Alderwoman Zada.
I just want to thank the city manager for bringing this up and having a forward-thinking plan going on with this. I agree, it's best to keep moving forward and all of these tedious, troublesome things. This is, there's a lot of work to be done here, so I appreciate that we're getting it done.
Any other comments? Hard to have redevelopment when you've got a brown field like this. Yeah. All right, hearing no other comments or questions, roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Zasada,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2025-039 passes. All right, moving on to number 2, Resolution 2025-040, authorizing the award of a contract to Curran Contracting Company in the amount of $4,083,655.11 for asphalt resurfacing with staff authority to approve change orders up to a combined project total of $4,248,000. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Larson, seconded by Alderman Powell. City Manager.
Thank you. This is an important issue to the council. I'm well aware of that. And so what I'd like to do to shape your discussion is just to summarize for people in the audience, people looking in, what this is about, and then talk about the recommendation and the thinking that is behind that recommendation. So I'll start with the fact that back about a year ago this month, we had a planning session, a special meeting of the City Council, and among the many things that we covered in that roughly 6 hours or so was how we were going to catch up with street maintenance that we had sort of a very slow program, I say. It wasn't a complete whole, but a very slow program. And the first roughly two decades of this century, and we've been trying over the last 4 or 5 years to aggressively catch up. We were in quite a hole, and with a sort of a blitzkrieg, as it was called back a year ago, our intention is to get all the failing streets, at least, on the wagon, at least in a direction, and moving in a direction of a better pavement rating as time goes on. That led to a budget of $4.5 million. To come up with that kind of money, we were relying on state motor fuel tax to the tune of about $1.5 million, our local motor fuel tax to the tune of about $1 million, and the rest from our general fund balance. So this is not just important for the neighborhoods and for our sense of community, but from a budgetary standpoint, we have been scratching and pulling together everything for this moment. So we went to bid. We got 2 pretty aggressive bids, both of them below the engineer's estimate. One was from Schroeder Asphalt Services out of Crystal Lake, the other from Curran Contracting of DeKalb. The numbers are in your background. Just briefly, the lower bid came from Schroeder. It was about 12% below the engineer's estimate. The current bid was about 5% below the engineer's estimate. There were two alternate bids, which I want to just bring to your attention because they're part of the action item tonight. One concerning something of interest to us. Back when the city's reconfiguration of the downtown area from First to Fourth was about to launch, we realized, working with the Department of Transportation, that we also had to provide a bikeway either in the downtown area, which wouldn't have been possible to come up with the configuration we've been working on, or on a parallel street. And as we ran that on Grove Street, between Second and First, we had to go through an older parking lot, and we accomplished the task, but it tore up a lot of the parking surface. And so that alternate one was to replace that, to mill that off and put a nice surface on it and stripe it. Alternate bid 2 was a collaboration between us and the DeKalb School District. And the idea here was to, because of the power of the size of our bid packet, to see if prices might be a little more competitive, including the interest of the school district in repaving the lot for their administrative building down on South 4th Street. And so alternate bid prices are there as well. The city council does not act on that. The school district administration is well aware of what the numbers are and can arrive at their own decision as to which of the two bidders they want to go with. So we got the bids. It's time for our recommendation. And you've all been through bids and awards in the past. There's a phrase, the lowest responsible bidder. So price isn't the only concern that you have. It's also the ability, the capacity to do the job, and the history of the performance of the companies that are bidding. And in this case, because of the motor fuel tax money, there is a marker that the Department of Transportation will require, again, because of the motor fuel tax money, and it's called a certificate of eligibility. So IDOT, dealing with bigger projects and state motor fuel tax projects, will also evaluate the capacity of a company to do the job. And the certificate of eligibility is important to us because although we could waive it, we can waive the restrictions and the constraints on that in terms of the size of the project that they feel is within the capacity of the low bidder, we don't have to waive. And sometimes if you waive that particular certificate of eligibility, then you're going to be responsible for any outcome that is not as expected in terms of dollars and investment. So, Schroeder Asphalt is not familiar to us, and so we did some background. Fairgram, which has the project engineering responsibilities, a contract which you issued back in March, did an investigation, looked at 10 different communities in northern Illinois, looked at the size of their projects and so forth. In most of those cases of the examples that we got back, the size of the project was in excess of what they considered to be the capacity of Schroeder to complete the job in terms of tonnage. I want to repeat that, in terms of tonnage. So if you don't have a batch plant, for instance, and you have to buy your tonnage from someplace else, you are hauling over a certain distance, which can affect the performance over time. Doesn't have to, but can. You have to be mindful of that and so forth. So IDOT takes that into consideration, and they looked at the tonnage for this project, which is over 20,000 tons, and the extent of what IDOT says is the capability of Schroeder is 1,200 tons. Other communities have waived that, as I said. The city of DeKalb has never done that. Doesn't mean we can't. And in this case, there's a significant difference in price. For two reasons, I suggest that the Schroeder bid is not something that we should be wholly confident in. And here are the two reasons. One is just the sheer difference in the tonnage, which is an issue in terms of the overall performance of the company over time. And the other piece is, if you don't have your own batch plant and you're running asphalt on a continuous basis through a period of days and weeks in this case, and the hot mix has to arrive at the scene and be laid at a certain temperature, and all this is tested, and the project engineers are there to test that and do sampling and so forth. If you have to wait in line for some other company, or if you have to truck it a certain distance, you have a mix with a texture and a heat that has to be minded. And you can't necessarily guarantee what the outcome's going to be. And if you work it too much or not enough, you get maybe less than ideal circumstances. We're talking about this is the final thing I want to suggest to you tonight. Nobody, probably in this room, and except for maybe our finance director, cares as much about the money that we pull together every year for capital programs. I understand how hard it is to find $300,000+, the difference between the two bids. I also understand that we don't have a do-over fund. So if any part of what we have to provide to our residents, and it's almost entirely residential here, if any part of that has to be redone, then that's going to fall to us. And it isn't going to be just a road intersection, a corner or something like that. Oftentimes it's half a block, because the machines are laying down a ribbon of asphalt for a long distance. So I'm concerned, and I wanted to pass along that concern to you, which affected my recommendation, which is to go with a higher bid, because we know what the performance of that bidder is, and their certificate of eligibility far exceeds our requirements for this project. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council. Alderwoman Larson.
If Schroeder's limitations were close to ours, it's like our requirements are just slightly over theirs. I mean, it's like 20 times over. I mean, it's not even close. We're not in the same ballpark. And I know all the residents in the second ward, as I walked, when are you going to fix my streets? And then if we fix them and they start deteriorating the next year, no one will be safe. So I agree that we should go with a product that we can trust and we don't have to redo.
Alderman Powell.
So Schroeder would be getting it from Kern, right?
Well, they have a choice. There are other places they can get it. They'll have to truck it a distance, 30, 35 minutes away at the nearest.
If they don't get it from Kern.
If they don't get it from Kern.
Did they say they intended to get it from Kern? They sent us email. I thought they said they were getting it from Kern.
Yeah, they sent us an email that also showed from Kern itself what the category of mix would be, and it broke down in further detail about what the specific composite was of that particular mix. But that's all about what pours out of the plant. It doesn't guarantee how you get to the site. And if you run a plant and you have your trucks, of course they're going to be busy too at the same time, lined up.
Current
Are you
trucks.
going to wave the other company forward and then risk your own projects? I think it's an issue.
Alderman Perkins.
So what does the 1,200 ton number mean?
It means the total that you can be relied upon, that you're eligible to work with for a whole project. So as Alderwoman Larson said, our project is well over 20 1,000 tons. This is 1,200 tons. So this would be a nice neighborhood refit. This would be milling, surfacing, basically a 20th of what we have in mind.
But is it an accurate representation of their capacity? Or is that just what the state of Illinois views their capacity as? And I guess if they view their capacity as something higher, and they've demonstrated it as something higher through other communities, why didn't they have that number amended up to a different level?
Well, that gets us some things that only IDOT can probably comment on. But I can tell you that if they intended to raise it, it would be now, because it's the beginning of the paving season, and so much is at stake at this point. Some companies build their whole year around a couple big projects, and this is not about the intent of or the professionalism of Schroeder as a company. This is about what their capacity is rated by the only independent arbiter, which is the state of Illinois Department of Transportation at this point.
See, to me, that IDOT seems to be the only middle-of-the-road, entity to evaluate capacity. And the trouble is, this would seem to indicate that this job is way too big for them, and they could choke on it, especially if they don't have their own plant. They're relying on some other plant somewhere else. Now, coincidentally, that plant is Curran, but I think your point's valid. But I guess there's $300,000 is a lot of money.
It is.
I know
that.
We had years where we budgeted $1 million, right? An extra $300,000 in those years would have been significant. And I guess it's in that definition of responsible bidder, I have a lot of questions. The $300,000 is a big one, but I guess if they're bidding something of this nature and they know they have that type of a gap, I'm not sure why they wouldn't have addressed that, because that essentially kind of indicates that they're not responsible. That makes
Here's
sense.
the reason, because they've come up before, in other projects, obviously, and before boards like this, and they've said there's a difference, and the board has wrestled with this, and the price has been significant, and so the board has said, well, what's the worst that could happen? In the smaller project, you could probably say that. The difference in terms of savings might allow us for the second effort to make it right. I remember fairly recently working with a smaller contractor to do just the concrete sidewalk work in the Knolls. We were paving, that was the first 2 years ago, we were paving the Knolls, the main loop. And what was being done on the concrete side, not the asphalt side, was to upgrade the accessible corners. And because there are a lot of intersections that were wide, the corners were not in the narrow, sloped kind of configuration. They basically looked like you were walking into a large commercial building. They were 8 feet wide and sloped all together. And because it looked like such a wide slope, they built little planters in them, which got chipped off the first time the plows went through. And also people were wondering, do I have to pay for flowers to put in these planters? And the planters spalled because the forms were stripped too early. Our street department went out and spent about a month that spring into early summer removing a lot of those and repouring the concrete. We can't afford to do streets. We don't have the equipment, because this isn't just our little patch kind of piece of equipment. This is a major street operation. We don't have that. We don't have the personnel. We don't have the money to do it. $300,000 would be eaten up in one block and a half.
Do they have any indication of what their demonstrated capacity has been in the past? Meaning
yes.
this amount, they're gonna do X tonnage per year, right?
We
And
looked at,
what percent does this mean of that? And I
well,
guess
that I don't know.
where I'm going with that is, what is their capability? Could this be 70 or 80% of their business? and all their eggs are in this basket, and we assume the risk, if we waive that, and then we're trying to figure out how they manage through a big, big project. And we assume the risk, right? Am I?
Yes, we do. Because let's say there was a dispute over quantities or quality of the sampling, and the job is done, we agree to settle the dispute amicably, it doesn't end up amicable, we end up in court together, and it doesn't matter at that point who wins or loses. In the meantime, the real losers are the people who've been waiting for 15 years to get a street that, you know, once it's poured and it smells, it's the only time you'll ever love the smell of asphalt. And it's striped, and you come out and you're enjoying it, and in a couple months, what happens with asphalt is a little trickier than concrete in some respects, because it's laid in these long ribbons, not in with expansion joints and so forth. If the seams aren't right, if the termination at the curbs isn't right, you're going to get cracks real quickly, and then that leads to, you know, a failure over time in a very short time, and people will then be here wondering, what were we thinking? And we can't go back 4.5 million. We're not going to have 4.5 million. We've never had that much involved in a street project ever, and we're not going to have it in the next 5 years. I hate to tell you, it's just not there. We can still be up over our historic average, but we don't have another 4.5 million to throw. So I'm very concerned about this. I wouldn't have made a big deal of it if I wasn't concerned and if I didn't know that we don't have the means to just let it ride. Other communities have been in the same position as us, but as I look at this list of the 10 references, and we did some pretty extraordinary review, only 2 of them did a project around our side. Many of them are 873,000, 685,000. One was 1.7 million. But other than Hoffman Estates, which is up around 6.3 million, and with all respect to Hoffman Estates, its average cost of living is a lot higher than ours. They're in that level where you could roll the dice and say, I think we're going to make it.
Go ahead.
So, in your list then, I missed some of the numbers. Have they been able to fulfill a contract of this size in their recent history?
2 of them.
2 of twice?
Well, maybe in their history more than that, but 2 that in our sampling.
That we found in the sampling?
In the
Okay.
most recent larger projects that they've done.
Okay.
What do you think? Alderman Burr?
What can you tell us about the difference in warranty from one company to the other? Perhaps the difference in their timeline? And then, don't we have someone on site watching to make sure that things are not subpar? So in other words, I'm having a hard time justifying $300,000
Yeah.
if warranty and timeline, and we are there checking quality along the way.
Yeah. Well-
Help me with that.
Yeah, good questions. So we do have, we'll have a project engineer there. It's just the key person will be from Fairgraham. It's the same person who oversaw the reconfiguration of the downtown area from First to Fourth. Some of you may have engaged that person in conversation. It works very well with contractors, tradespeople, the general public. So pretty ideal working in neighborhoods, you know, helping people get in and out of driveways, or people forget, oh, this is a day. Very, very good touch with the general public. So from that standpoint, and also very careful as an engineer. Engineering tech is what they are. They're full engineers that do this kind of work. They do, and they also do the sampling. But that person is not everywhere. We're spread all over town. And once the asphalt has cooled, there it is. So they get around, and you know, they're going crazy all the time, driving around every day that there's asphalt being laid. So in that sense, we do as much as we can, but the sheer scope of this work this summer is going to, it would demand 3 or 4 of these people, and we've just authorized in the last month $252,000 for that oversight work. So there's that issue. Here's the other thing. If you go in to buy something, it doesn't matter whether it's us or a company, and you want the job pretty bad, and you're going to cut your, let's say you're selling, and you're going to cut your price, and you can do that so many times until you run into a problem, and then the debate over whether this ought to be torn up and redone or not becomes a lot tenser when you know that you can't afford to do that too much, or you're going to lose money on the job. So you can lowball projects like this and maybe get away with it, and maybe it's convincing. But again, it doesn't matter who wins in the end. 2-3 years later, if it's a court action, what matters is what's going to go down in the neighborhoods. And we've done a lot of asphalt work here in the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm not an engineer. I don't admit to claim to be an engineer, but I've been out often and long and talked to our city engineer and talked to other engineers who have been our project engineers. I have a pretty good idea what is required generally. And when I saw this, I had a lot of pause, and I wasn't alone.
So any comment about timeline and warranty? How will those differ between?
That'd be the same, like 1-year warranty, basically.
Both companies and their timeline requirements will be the same? Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Zada.
How many times in the past have we worked with Curran?
Gosh, I mean, probably 2 generations.
Yeah, I guess I just want to point out in my unengineering way that I have noticed the differences between some of the work that we've had done by Curran and then some of the work that was done by IDOT in the area, and noticing some of the differences with the seams. Like, for example, when you drive down, did Curran do First Street?
Yes.
When you drive down First Street, you'll see how perfectly square the manholes are inside the little boxes that they make for them. But then when you get to, and I'm imagining Lincoln Highway was not done by Curran because it's probably an IDOT project. Then when you get to Lincoln Highway, you can see how like those manholes are kind of off center with the little box that they're trying to put them in. So I'm just saying you can see the quality in their work, and I've seen it. And it makes sense because you can see things are crumbling faster when you don't put the little square around the round hole the right way. So
Sorry, the technical terms.
I just wanted to break it down so all you people can understand it.
Yeah, for me, just over the last few months, heard a lot about roads. I mean, a lot. I think everyone in the audience well, not everyone in the audience has talked to me about roads, but has probably had a conversation about them. This is a priority in the community, and for us to do this historic project of $4.5 million it's big, and for me, it's gotta go well. That's what people are demanding, and Curran is a contractor that's a known entity to us. We know they do good work, but also be remiss, and I can't remember if you called it out, City Manager. Oh, you did, but just to remind everyone, we're also below budget on this with Curran's bid as well, which is great, just absolutely great news. I do remember the knolls, and I remember the setbacks on that, and I remember just the challenges we had and the extra money that we spent on something like that, and I don't want to see us go through anything like that again. And for me, it just comes down to, we have done a lot of projects. We used to do $700,000 a year. The last 4 years, we've been doing $2.5 million. I think our city manager and administration have quite a bit of experience working with the engineers out there on what successful projects look like at this point. This is a historic undertaking, doing the $4.5 million. And again, I want to make sure that when it's done, it's wrapped up in a nice, neat bow, it's handed to the community, and we're all enjoying the fruits of this. I also know how hard the administration works to try and save every dollar. I mean, we've seen proposal after proposal come before us where it's a savings after savings after savings, whether it's buying in bulk, whether it's buying in advance. No matter what, I have a high confidence in our administration to make sure that they're always doing what they can to make sure that taxpayers' money is spent wisely. So my trust level is high as well with administration. My trust level is high with Kern. And I know the people are trusting that we're going to do these roads, and we're going to do it, and we're going to do it right. And they're finally going to get some relief on the roads they have. So for me, going with Kern is would be my recommendation for sure. Yes, Alderman Perkins.
One last comment. So I spent some time running supply chain for organizations and regularly evaluated new suppliers. And in many cases would try and dual source things, so we would have options in case something went wrong with one supplier. In this case, having to assume the risk for a new supplier on the biggest roads package that we've done seems like an awful lot to ask. You know, I'm interested in knowing more about them, but not giving them all of this and assuming that high of a level of risk. $300,000 is a lot of money, but I think the overruns and the potential things that could go wrong are very concerning. So I support your thought on the current thing wholeheartedly.
Alderman Smith.
Bill, what's the contingency on, is it difference between
Well-
current and, in other words, Schiller's got a lower cost, does that mean their contingency is larger?
Well, you know, every company has their own internal contingency, you know, what do we have in case we have to battle over a
Right.
particular intersection or something. The contingency that we talk about is our contingency. In this case, because we are, as the mayor said, and as I indicated earlier, because we're lower than the engineering estimate, we have some left for a contingency of our own, so that if things go swimmingly, we might be able to add a little more of that next follow-on street or another street that's up in the pecking order immediately after what we're doing, and we're trying to stretch these dollars as far as we can. So I did suggest in the general recommendation that the amount of money that we would allocate would be up to a total of $4.248 million. Because we've already authorized $252,000 on top of that, which takes us to the 4.5. I know you don't want to spend less than 4.5, and I
Why'd you
don't
look
want
at me when I
to,
said
I don't have more than 4.5. So we'd still have a contingency of our own for another street or something like that, about $164,000, which would be just right.
Question for you, and I think I know the answer. I don't think Curran's had to dive into the contingency fund on the last few projects. Am I?
That's right.
Pretty
That's
safe
right.
to say
Gone
that?
smooth. And now, we've had other, believe me, some of our programs, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, we had some real competitive bids from other general contracting firms, and a couple of them were awarded some of the bigger projects. So this isn't just a one contract town. So and every year they have to sharpen their pencils, and we push that as far as we can. We appreciate that.
And one more that I guess I'll throw out there, because I know the lead project's around the corner. Any streets gonna be, I mean, are we gonna collide, if you will, between a street project and a lead service replacement?
Yeah, so on the lead side, there's not going to be a lot of open cutting, so we're going to do a lot of pushing on that. And so we're trying to coordinate that, although we're kind of working against ourselves too. I mean, when we're doing like 13th and 14th, we
Right.
did a lot of the underground at the same time, so then when we're done and do the street, it's done. But the lead services are all over town too, and they might not be in the same area. It's just what we have to do.
I'd like to see them do lead first. I know there's a lot in the Third Ward, so
Then
they can do the road.
We are going to start that, and I don't think Justin's in the audience
No.
today, but as soon as we absolutely can, because our qualification for the IEPA money was to get started, I think, before June 1st, so we're going to be out there on the services.
Right, and I will say I agree with, I don't want to have to go back to this. I don't think my stress level can take it for the residents. I side with them. Some of these streets are gone.
Yeah.
A gravel road would be smoother. And one more thing, was there pre-qualification? I mean, I work with IDOT. Did we have a
Yeah.
pre-qualification with IDOT on this one for contractors?
Yeah,
Or
so
not?
that's another reason why there's a certificate of eligibility. If you don't pre-qualify, according to some level of tonnage, you don't get to bid on these jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Alderman Burbank.
Alderman Perkins made a great point about Schroeder. Let's see some other work done first, so welcome them certainly to bid on projects perhaps that aren't quite so intensive without a track record with us. So thanks for making that point.
Anyone else? Last thing, I just want to reiterate too, that alternate bid with the school district. This is, and taxpayers, you'll love hearing this, two government agencies working together. School district, as Bill said, was able to leverage the buying power that we had to redo a parking lot that they've got, saving the school district a lot of taxpayer money. So it was really cool that we've been able to do that, and I hope, and I'm sure we will, have more opportunities like this in the future, and I know council, and I'm assuming the school district going forward, anytime we can collaborate in order to save taxpayer money, that's going to be the order of the day. So that's a cool component of all this as well. All right, hearing no other comments or questions, roll call, please.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
No.
Verbeck,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Zasada,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
7-0.
Resolution 2025-040 passes. Moving on to resolution number 3, resolution 2025-041, authorizing the purchase of traffic signal equipment through Mobitrex in an amount not to exceed $32,834 and appropriating $8,208.50 in local funds. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Powell. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a cost-sharing program, as I indicate in the background. It's to our advantage to work with the state of Illinois to upgrade our traffic signals at two particular locations, and the systems that are going to be upgraded are over 20 years old, which is a lot for a frontline state highway traffic signal electronic system. So this particular name, Mobitrex, is what is preferred by IDOT, and in our experience has proven well in our community, so we'd like to continue with it.
Council, questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbeck,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Zasada,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8-0.
Resolution 2025-041 passes. Hey, I'm gonna go back a sec. I just with the conversation and everything, my mind was still processing. We just passed over $4 million in work to redo our roads in the city of DeKalb. And like I said, I heard it a lot, and I know we've all heard it. Now to finish the Knowles and Tracy, my gosh, School Street and Davie, if anyone has driven those, I would highly encourage you, if you think your roads are bad, Google School Street, Google Davie, and then make that comparison. And those will be done, I think, there's 9th and 10th Streets in there. There's just a lot of great neighborhoods that are long overdue that we've been able to finally, am I correct on the, yes.
Correct.
We're finally able to redo. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say thanks, council. It's really wonderful that we've heard everyone speak, and now we've been acting on it. And I just can't wait to see, once this season's over, what it's actually going to look like as we drive around town. So, awesome. All right, moving on to number 4, Resolution 2025-042, authorizing the purchase of 30 police portable radios from J&K Communications in an amount not to exceed $91,000. Can I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderwoman Zazada. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Last year, we updated about 16 digital portable radios for our officers. These for mostly new officers, but also upgrading from a former model which is no longer in production. And we had budgeted to continue this replacement for 30 additional and replacement digital portable radios in this current fiscal year. The net cost to us was $91,000 in this particular contract, and we budgeted $97,500, so we're within budget, and we recommend your approval.
Council, questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Verbic,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Sisata,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2025-042 passes. Number 5, Resolution 2025-043, authorizing the FY 2025 payment for a continued law enforcement embedded social worker agreement with Northwestern Medicine Ben Gordon Center in the amount of $135,714. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderwoman Zazata, seconded by Alderman Smith. City Manager.
Thank you. You're well familiar with our embedded social worker program. We've maintained that for the last 3 years, and initially we got some very helpful grant support from the 708 board, and that support is not as significant as it was just because it's a very competitive grant source, and it's a limited grant source. So we have been fielding the cost of this very important program for our police department. I said just a little bit about it in the background. It continues to provide very extensive referral and follow-up services for families and individuals who are suffering some kind of a crisis in their life that required them initially to get involved with our police department through 911 or some other means. And we have, as you saw in the police report, had a really good experience in the last year and a half in particular in trying to get people on another path. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of collaboration with other agencies as well. We talked about 3 people here. It's not 3 40-hour-a-week people, but it's 3 people who are engaged with us, and we'll look to get to that point where we have 3 40-hour-a-week persons, hopefully in the next budget year. But this is the contract that provides the shell around the experience that is in place as we speak, and we recommend your approval.
Council, questions, comments? Said it before, one of the ride-alongs that I was on, we had a call from a resident, ended up engaging with a elderly, mentally ill, homeless woman. And I think it took a majority of the night, just officers, this is pre this program, officers trying to get this person help, not completely sure how. It was late at night, so a lot of the agencies were closed. And I know there were incident after incidents like that caused us to implement this program. So now I think it's just fantastic that our officers now have the support they need when they encounter a situation that is outside their skill set to be able to engage with the right professionals to make sure these people in DeKalb that are experiencing the issue that they might be having can get to the right help. So I think it's great, and I really look forward to the day we can get to all 3 shifts covered. But one thing at a time. All right, hearing no other questions or comments, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Sisata,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2025-043 passes. Moving on to number 6, Resolution 2025-044, approving a retail tobacco store license for Zone Tobacco and Convenience Incorporated located at 110 East Hillcrest Drive. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Burbick, seconded by Alderwoman Larson. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a topic that we've talked about, retail tobacco stores in recent months. We got down to 4. This is one of the 4, and we didn't say that you couldn't sell your business to somebody else. Our interest was if the business was going out and the proprietor of the property thought it was better to bring in something else, we wouldn't stand in the way of that, and we were talking about further diminishing. But in this case, it's a business opportunity. It doesn't expand the number of retail tobacco stores. The The prospective buyer has been approved through the city's background investigation results, which were approved by the DeKalb Police Department, so we recommend your approval.
Council, questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Zasada,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2025-044 passes. Number 7, Resolution 2025-045, approving a bar restaurant liquor license for Iniga Incorporated,
Iniga.
doing business as, someone pronounce it?
Iniga.
Iniga, thank you. So Iniga Pizzeria, Napoletana. To be located at 206 East Lincoln Highway. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Well, moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Zazada. City Manager.
Thank you. Well, this is exciting because it means it's inching further and further toward being open. And Tim is in the audience tonight. He's been working with us. As you know, we issued a TIF grant to help with the fire suppression system. And those of you who were around South 2nd Street at that moment about a month ago know that that was done, and we appreciate that. This is the bar liquor license. We wanted to get this going. There's still some work to do in the building, and it's downtime in terms of serving alcohol. The building's not open, but in this time, we thought it was good for him to go ahead and apply for the state license with the city license in hand. We're excited about the opening, and a little bit later on, we'll talk about the patio outside. I'll recommend your approval.
Council. Questions, comments? So despite my inability to say the name correctly, it has been wonderful working with him when he originally came to us with the idea on the Baez. We all sat at City Hall, we brainstormed on vents and anything we could do to make this project successful. So I'm really excited that we're close and can't wait to be there, the day of. All right, no further comments or questions. Roll call, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Zasada,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2025-045 passes. Okay, here we go again. Resolution 2025-046, authorizing a land lease agreement with Iniga Pizzeria, Napoletana?
Napolitano.
Napoletana, okay. For a part of the property located on the east side of South 2nd Street at 206 East Lincoln Highway for an outdoor patio. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderman Verbic. City Manager.
I'm sure the council's aware there's an area of sidewalk which has been enclosed by an attractive-looking fence and some masonry for years, in years that the building was no longer serving a commercial purpose at the first level. And with the opening of the new pizzeria, there will be an opportunity for people to enjoy the food out and maybe a beverage outside. Tim has come to us to see if he can use that. We have a lease, which we haven't charged for this lease for 4 or 5 years, but there is a mock-up of a lease that would apply to this particular patio since it's on public property, and obviously could be alcohol served there. We want to retain it as public property, and that lease is before you tonight. One thing, and I'm going to negotiate with Tim here on the floor. Sometimes people hang signs on these rails, and it's not necessarily about the pizzeria. It's about, hey, come one, come all. There's something happening at a church over here or whatever. That's not kosher, and maybe if you're okay, it would just allow for us to, prohibit those signs in the lease. If we could add some language to that effect, if you would trust the able city attorney to do something like that? Would you be okay with that?
It's a great idea, yeah.
Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Burbick.
Thank you for that. But what about others that are in practice of that now?
We can deal with those
Thank you.
separately.
Thank you.
Tim has enough on his shoulders right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Sasada,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2025-046 passes. Welcome, excited, just can't wait to hang out in your restaurant and enjoy the food, and thanks for investing in DeKalb and the downtown, sir. How about a round of applause for this gentleman? And don't feel like you have to stay either. All right.
Welcome.
All right, moving on to number 9, Resolution 2025-047, approving a bar liquor license with licensure for supplemental gaming at Regepi LLC, doing business as Zana's Wood-Fired Pizza, located at 1406 Sycamore Road, Suite AB. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Powell. City Manager.
Thank you. As you can see by the title and also by the little bit of background here, this is a reclassification from the low alcohol by volume to a full bar liquor license, and there is a significant license cost for that. There's going to be a time when you go from one license period to another now. And the background requests that there be a pro rata estimation of what the renewal fee will be, which is going to come too fast for the business owner in terms of their original investment and then the additional cost for this. It's identified in your background, and I hope we will agree with that. So this is two parts. One is to approve the upgrade, and then also to, we've done this in the past where two different license periods are overlapping. We prorate the original or the new rate based on the original contribution.
Council, any comments or questions? Yes, Alderwoman Zazada. Oh.
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't have anything.
Oh,
okay.
okay. Alderman Burke.
I can't support this. I understand the owner wanting to diversify their revenue stream, et cetera, but it really flies in the face of council direction. We've had conversation after conversation about reducing this offering across our city. So are we in or are we out? Where are we headed with gaming?
But that is we said we wanted to keep it to 10, if I remember right, video gaming establishments, which are just that.
What difference does it make?
Well,
I
this
mean-
is a bar license, and what we did approve is anyone with a bar license can have up to 6 terminals, just like every other bar and restaurant that wants to go that path in the city of DeKalb. We just restricted the video gaming establishments to not have any more of those get established.
But what's the difference?
Well, those are just focused simply on.
It's the number of gaming machines that we're presenting to our community,
Yep.
and all we talk about is how we don't want to do that.
Yep.
So where are we going?
Alderwoman Zada.
I hear absolutely where Alderman Verbic is coming from, and I was surprised to see this on the agenda with that in mind also. And I understand if, maybe Alderman Verbic and I both were thinking we had said something a little bit different than what you just laid out. But, there have been times that we have denied, I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm going way back, but was it O'Leary's that we denied having video gaming terminals? And there are other places we've denied adding video gaming terminals altogether, aren't there?
I think they had O'Leary's, yeah.
Okay, well, where am I? I'm not sure where I'm
City
thinking.
Manager?
I don't know about that. That predated me, but yeah. So if we were going to draw a line here, which hasn't been drawn yet by the council in this particular category of gaming, then the way to approach this is to do that first, and then then we send a message to others who might be looking to join the club, so to speak. That would be the appropriate way. But in this case, there isn't anything existing now, and so it was appropriate for us to just bring it forward in a shape that is allowed currently. So your pleasure is our direction at this point.
Alderwoman Larson.
Maybe we were all in a different times warp, but, because we didn't approve the laundromat, and I thought it was like, because it's not a bar and there'd be kids there, and this is a restaurant, this isn't a bar, and it's not a 21 and over to walk through the door. And I thought that's kind of, there was a line in my sand.
Because
but-
Fatty's is this would be no different than Fatty's, and they've got video gambling there. You know, and that's a family-friendly place. I mean, you start thinking how many places have them.
So we have enough?
We could. We just, council, the reason this is before us is we said video gaming establishments that just focus on that. Remember VGEs versus VGTs? VGEs is what we settled on. Alderwoman Zada, she had her hand up first. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I will say in that context, I respect what we actually chose and what we decided on, and I understand the challenge that all of our local businesses are having to make ends meet, and I respect this desire to diversify, and it sounds like they made a remodel that is, and their whole request is aligned with our rules. So I will support it in that context.
Alderman Perkins.
So for some historical perspective, back to the laundromat, my big thing for the laundromat is it was right across the street from a school. That was a huge element for me. And I think in this one, part of the difficulty here is we're converting it to a bar now too. And we're converting it to a bar to allow the gambling. So I'm not sure where I'm gonna be on this, because it's two things. You're converting what was a restaurant to a bar to allow gambling. And by converting it to a bar, I understand the business necessity of it. I get the additional revenue that it brings along. At the same time, if this were to come up just on its own merit, to say, do we want to open another bar with gambling, I'd have a tough time with it. So I think part of the distinction, going back to the distinction though, was the other one was across the street from a school. So that was,
That's a few blocks
that was
away.
clear. And it's similar to the same thing as the White Hen, where they wanted to sell sandwiches, but to sell sandwiches, they needed to be able to provide shooters as well.
Yes.
So, those are subtle differences. So, just my thoughts.
Alderman Burley.
My view is it's a gaming parlor dressed up as a pizza place. I mean, your gaming parlors can also offer pizza to eat while you're gambling, in beer and wine, I believe, or whatever the case may be. But so I guess this is my line, or maybe we have to discuss what should be the new line. It's schematics, or I don't know. I've said enough.
I think, Alderman Powell.
Is this located right across from Hopkins Park?
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
thought. What's the difference between a park and a school and a bar?
Well, I mean, outside it's,
I mean, it's still gonna be kids
It's
walking
a
around
valid
over
point.
there.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
for me, if we wanted to restrict this, well, we definitely should have done it before. It's not to say we can't bring something before council and decide. What that would require is we need a separate liquor license then that accommodates every liquor license holder right now that is a bar restaurant, just like they want to be, that also already has video gaming. And there's most of them. I mean, Pizza Pros has video gambling, and they're a family-friendly restaurant kind of thing. Fatty's, as I mentioned. We don't have that right now. So right now, the code is, yes, you have a bar liquor license, you can have video gambling, up to 6 terminals maximum. And I remember before, there was the question, like at the Elks, if I recall, you guys had 3, and if we were gonna change something, how's that fair? Because you have 3, someone else has 6, and so we decided we were only gonna affect video gaming establishments. So I think for me, where I stand on this is, I mean, if that's the change we want to make, no different than the tobacco stores, no different than the video gaming establishments, we can bring it before council and set a moratorium on how many liquor license we want to issue that also have video gambling. I would prefer not to have any video gambling in the entire city of DeKalb. That's where I come from on this.
Second.
But here we are. The license is out there. You said remodeling was already done, or someone did.
Yeah.
Based off of the fact that they can apply for a liquor license.
So I wasn't involved at the intake of this
Yep.
particular request, but I imagine our staff dutifully said, here's what you can do, and here's what you can't do, and what you can
Right.
do is do what they did. And they probably knew that, and they completed it, and now they're here to apply for their license, and they can't.
I mean, the risk was that they could have been denied the liquor license even
On
independent
the
of
grounds we
video
normally
gambling.
would, yeah,
Right.
because
Yes.
of background or something.
Alderwoman Larson.
Okay, so things are coming back now. So for the restaurants though, didn't we have some kind of, like the restaurant was supposed to be, there's the restaurant here, and then there's like the bar and the gaming's there. Because I thought we talked about, like, I hate going into a gas station and they
Right.
have like this little string that says, okay, this is the gambling area. And it's like, well,
Right.
that keeps it out of the kid's mind. So, I mean, does this remodel have that where the gaming terminals would be in the bar area and there's a separate family eating area? Because didn't we talk about that at Sully's?
Yeah, that's required under our code.
Yeah,
I haven't
okay.
looked
Yeah.
at this particular, remodel or plan, but the video gaming terminals have to be in an enclosed area that 21 and over can only access.
But
Yeah.
enclosed, or like Sully's is the example, it's roped off.
Yeah, roped off and enclosed.
Yes.
There's a
Enclosed doesn't mean a room
There's an
with a door
enclosure.
and,
Yeah. It depends what's improved, but it is, our code says it has to be enclosed and separated from the area.
And under
so-
21's not allowed in.
Correct. Yep.
Let everyone percolate on it. Yes, Alderwoman Zazada.
The real reason I feel inclined, one, is because that's the rules that we already set up. Two, I don't know if you guys have been into the pizza place. I've only been in there a couple times. Doesn't seem like it's that busy. I can understand that they're working hard to try to retain the business and make it profitable, and, I respect that.
What I'm definitely hearing is this is a potential agenda item we should bring back forward for discussion on liquor licenses and video gaming terminals. But unless there's no more comments or questions, I'll call roll on this one and we'll see where the chips fall. Pun was intended. Thank you, City Attorney. I saw you smiling, yes. All right, is there any other comments or questions on this one? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Perkins,
No.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Zasada,
Yes.
Larson,
No.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Oh, yes.
5-0.
All right. City Manager, I assume you heard, let's discuss about
Yes.
upcoming agenda item on that. I assume the city attorney is going to need to paw through our liquor code a little bit more to make some recommendations, so. All right, moving on to agenda item K, ordinances, second reading, we have none. Agenda item L, ordinances, number 1, ordinance 2025-015, approving a plat of vacation for Simmons Avenue. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Zada, seconded by Alderman Perkins. And my pauses are, I keep hearing voices out there, and I don't know if someone's trying to say, correct me on something, so. All right, City Manager.
Did you have something you wanted to say, Rod, or you want me to just? Okay. First of all, I want to thank Rod McNeely. Is McNeely? McNeil. who's the CEO for Algus Packaging. He's here tonight to answer any questions that you may have. As you know, this is part of a required public hearing where there's a vacation of city property that is required by state statute. This is interesting. This is a case where at their own expense a local business has put in a road. It crosses an area that was a dedicated right-of-way and another area that was never dedicated as a right-of-way, but we thought maybe we should own it so that someday we might dedicate it as a right-of-way. But there is no longer a public purpose in extending a public road south through, I am sure the Target warehouse would not permit us to do that at this point. It would be pretty expensive if we tried. And so, but it is an area leading out of what used to be the old Del Monte property, which is now the Algus Packaging property, for trucks that are bringing material in and bringing finished product out to get up on Simmons Avenue and to get to Lincoln Highway and other places. We have been working with Algus to, it goes back maybe 3 or 4 years, where before it was a paved road, and it is if you've been out there to take a look at it, they've completed the paving. Before it was a paved road, it was kind of a dusty gravel road, creating some dust for some businesses down at the end of Simmons Avenue, and we had back and forth, and Algus, each step of the way, was willing to go a little further. First of all, they seal coated some of the gravel, put some new gravel down, seal coated that. That doesn't last very long, maybe a year or two, and then they actually worked on the roadbed and did some paving down there. And again, at their total expense, could have said, you've got some right-of-way here, when are you going to build your road? And we don't want to build too many more roads because we've got to repair those roads, as we well know. So, but this is, I think, a good collaboration. Very pleased with how Algus Packaging has worked with us over the years, and as they've been able, they've gone a little further and a little further. And so at this point, it's up to us. We want to approve a plat of vacation for that part of Simmons Avenue that is indicated on the 2 screens in red. We're going to bring this back at another point. We're a little confusing to do another step because we have these 2 dedicated parcels that need a little different attention. So at probably one of the next meetings, we'll bring that other piece back. But this is what's on your agenda tonight. We recommend its approval.
Council, questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Sisata,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
All right, ordinance 2025-015 passed on first reading. Moving on to number 2, ordinance 2025.
Mayor, if it's possible, we'd like to.
No.
They don't want to.
You don't want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll let it go to the next meeting.
Yeah.
That was the request.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
what their attorneys wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said.
Yeah, they wanted to keep it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Things have
I'm all
changed.
over it, city manager. All right, moving on to number 2, ordinance 2025-0, oh yeah,
Thank
have a
you.
great night, sir. 2025-016, approving the rezoning of property located at 209 Grove Street from the Light Industrial District to the CBD, Central Business District. Michael Warfel. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Alderman Verbeck, seconded by Alderwoman Larson. City manager.
Thank you. This is something we discussed when the petitioner, Mr. Warfel, received an AIP grant last year. The eventual occupancy for light commercial uses was going to require rezoning. That's what's before you tonight. This has been to the Plan Commission. They realized that our comprehensive land use plan calls for this to be a light industrial area, no longer an industrial area. So they considered this briefly on April 7th and unanimously approved or recommended your approval of this particular petition, and we support their recommendation.
Council, questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Verbic,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Sisata,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Ordinance 2025-016 is passed on first reading. I would take a motion to waive second reading.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderwoman Zazada, seconded by Alderman Smith. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Zasada,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Second reading has been waived for ordinance 2025-016. All right, moving on to agenda item M, reports and communications, council member reports. Alderwoman Zazada, you want to kick us off?
No report.
Alderman Smith.
No report.
Alderman Powell.
No report.
Alderman Walker.
No report.
Alderman Verbic.
Congratulations to the Glidden Homestead for earning 4 awards from the Illinois Association of Museums. The Glidden Homestead was recognized for innovation, building site preservation, and volunteer service, with Roger Keys and Jim Morrell at over 25 years of service to the homestead. Thank you to all the volunteers.
Awesome. Alderman Perkins.
So as my time here on the council's winding down, I've had the opportunity to think back on what we've accomplished in my time here, and I'm very proud of it. We've done a tremendous amount. Would have one request. One of the things that I'm really proud of is the growth that we've had in our community. Looking forward, I'm concerned about a limit on that growth. One of the things that we worked on is partnering with the school district on their code of conduct and our SROs that we're putting in the school district. What I would like to do is circle back and see and find out how's that going. Is the code of conduct in? Is it working? Because I'm concerned about the long-term growth prospects of our community if we don't address more of the issues with our school district. I'm afraid we're going to be bumping up against the ceiling. So, just a thought. I'd like to circle back on it.
City Manager.
Just extraordinarily prescient as always. So at the next regular meeting, you will have an opportunity to have a presentation on that in the context of a proposal to extend our SRO contract, but in the past what we've done is to talk about code of conduct, what's the impact it's having on schools. So
Great.
incredible. Thank you.
Sorry if I stole any thunder.
No, it was all your thunder.
Alderwoman Larson.
Just that the first Saturday in April, both the mayor and I were at the Earth Fest at NIU, and Scott Zach was there for the CEC and the Environmental Commission, and was updating the residents on where we are working to get Metra service out to DeKalb. And there was just, I don't know, 40 or 50 tables. There was a lot of
Yeah.
participation.
It's a good event.
It was a very, very cool day. So it was fun to be there.
And Scott did a incredible job.
Phenomenal.
And I don't mean to sound like I'm shocked by that. No, I mean, I'm not. I mean, literally, I'm sitting in the audience listening to him give the presentation with our Citizens Environmental Commission, and it was solid. I was really impressed by all the work the Environmental Commission's been doing, and Scott being our liaison there, and Alderwoman Larson being our liaison there. They've done a lot of good work, and it was just really cool to hear.
Strong commission.
Yeah. All right, so EarthFest was covered. I also met with Habitat for Humanity. City Manager Nicholas and I did, just talking about some long-term goals that they have and how it might align with the city of DeKalb. There is an art reception going on at the Egyptian Theater right now. It goes on till maybe first week in May. Highly recommend swing by, take a look at it. I mean, there's just a lot of just absolutely beautiful art there, and the venue, of course, is absolutely amazing. Had a great time on T.D. Ryan's show. If you're not familiar with T.D. Ryan from WLBK, he now has a podcast, and it's just another outlet for us being able to find information that's going on in the community, including reading the Daily Chronicle. Helps us stay informed of what's happening. Also went out to the data center with Meta, and they had their community action grants. They've given out 1.2 million plus now to over 65 organizations in 3 tranches, essentially, which is really impressive when you think about that. They committed when they first came here to make a positive impact on the community they have a physical presence in, and they've done that in DeKalb, and they've done that in the region. So that was just really cool to see all the wonderful organizations benefiting from that. We also, the City Manager Nicholas and I were at SIGEPS,
Yes.
Sigma
Phi
Phi
Epsilon.
Epsilon, city managers fraternity.
It's immaterial.
But we have a net new fraternity on Greek Row. So they invested in a building. They are renovating it right now. They are recruiting candidates, and it's really cool and stated because of all the work we have done in that area that they had, there was 100 alumni there, I think, total. But they have about 30 active alumni that are volunteering time, producing dollars in order to open this house because they want to make an investment in Greek Row and the Greek community here at Northern Illinois University. So that was just really cool to see. And Tugs happened this weekend. If you all aren't familiar with Tugs, you have to keep it on your radar. It's in April every year, and it's a tug-of-war competition. But it's way more than that and way more sophisticated than you would think. It's kind of like watching, I didn't understand soccer and golf until I really understood them, and now I can appreciate watching it. You can really appreciate watching Tugs, but this is something unique to Northern Illinois University, and attendance was huge. That's been growing every single solitary year to turn into a great event. They had DJs, they had food trucks, Fatty's was there, and that is done on 912 Edgebrook, 812 Edgebrook? 912 Edgebrook, where we used to have an apartment building in the community that a regime prior to
Still
me-
city-owned, and
Yep,
if I
tore
may
down.
just
Yes,
add, so
please.
in the spring, it's the men's tugs, in the fall, it's the women's tugs.
Yep.
And, yeah, it gets a lot of people around, and people from the neighborhood don't have to be fraternity, sorority, or
Yeah.
students, so it's fun.
Cool. Alderman Perkins.
I forgot. Thanks to the fire chief for taking me through the new firehouse.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Dropped in on those guys, looks great.
Yeah.
The work that they've done there is fantastic, on time, looks great. Hard work of a lot of people.
And we'll have a big ribbon cutting and party or something, I assume. soon.
We'll invite the community in.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be, we're officially, or unofficially actually running out of the station as of last Friday night. But we rolled, it's a tradition in the fire department fire service to roll it used to be they'd roll the wagon back into the barn. We rolled it's a little heavier to roll that truck, and it was a little bit of an incline. But
It's a little steep.
so we got it in, and we've got still have some landscaping to do. Been waiting for the weather to warm up a little bit. We have some trees to plant and some other things to dress up. But we have a flagpole there, so we raised the flag, rolled it in, and running calls.
So the push-in for those that were driving by, the fire truck does.
It actually
run.
worked.
Yeah. So
It looks good. It's a great
Just wanted
looking truck.
clarification.
Yeah.
I'm
But-
sure
but-
some blog out there is all over.
What we have in mind right now, subject to change, is the briefest of formal ceremony, a few speeches, and then a cookout probably on a Saturday, midday, maybe the first Saturday in May.
Awesome.
More to follow.
City manager, do you have anything more to report?
I was going to sing some SIGEP hymn, but I think I won't.
But you still know the handshake, I remember. All right, moving on to agenda item N, executive session. I would take a motion to hold an executive session meeting to discuss executive session minutes as provided for in 5 ILCS 120/2 C21.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Powell, seconded by Alderman Smith. The regular session is adjourned.
Mayor Barnes.
Oh, yeah, roll call, sorry, hang on. Roll call.
Zasada.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Verbic.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
All right, regular session now has been adjourned. Thanks for coming out, everybody.